Hey everybody, it's Lashes Lane, and this is the Sober Showgirl podcast. Guys, I am so excited to be back. Another week, another episode, and today we are going to be talking about what it's like being sober in the entertainment industry. In this episode, we are not just going to be talking about burlesque and rock and roll, we are also going to be talking about working at theme parks and entertainment, which I think is so crazy that so much drinking happens at these family friendly theme parks. So that's going to be something spicy that we get into later in the topic. Before we begin, I just wanted to say hi. I hope everybody is doing so good. I am doing well today. Today is Monday night. This episode comes out tomorrow morning. And I'm just really happy to have the opportunity to connect with everybody about sobriety. This is so important to me. And with 3 years of sobriety approaching very soon for me, it's just crazy, like reflecting on the past choices I've made and looking and seeing how much bigger and brighter my dreams in my life have become taking the sober route in my life. So I'm really glad you guys are here today. If you are new on your journey, I'm so proud of you. If you are not new in your journey and you've been doing this for a long time, I'm proud of you too, because this is definitely not society's norm. So us doing this and us living this life is just really cool. It's really cool. It's so rewarding and it's so special. So thank you for being here today. I really wanted to take some time to talk about entertainment. And if I do not get deep enough in this episode and you want me to go even further, just shoot me a DM either on my personal page, Lashes Lane, or the Sober Showgirl Instagram, the Sober Showgirl. Pretty easy to remember those two. Shoot me a message or a comment and just tell me, hey, I want to go a little bit deeper. If you have any questions about entertainment after this, just let me know. Just let me know. We are going to start off from the very beginning of my personal entertainment journey, which is, drum roll please, being a princess at Walt Disney World. I started working full time as a character performer at Walt Disney World. I was Princess Aurora, Sleeping Beauty. If you guys aren't like Disney people, that's the one that wears the pink dress. I was Princess Aurora at age 17. I was homeschooled previously. And I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I had alcohol previously at a family dinner. Family. I don't know why I said it like that. A family. There's my Michigan accent coming out. Those like very intense A's. Family. Anyway, like a family dinner or something, there'd be champagne or whatever. And I'd like sneak a little. So I had alcohol previously. I didn't party with my high school friends. I was a theater nerd. I was homeschooled. I was involved in community theater. We would just like hang out in my basement and act out musicals. And then me and my homeschooled friends, we would just like chill. And yeah, me and my twin sister, we weren't really like, worried about like getting drunk and partying because we were just having so much fun with all of our friends. And we had a really great friend group through like our little homeschool community, and it was really nice. So we didn't get into trouble as teenagers until I was 17 working at Disney. Then the trouble began, dun dun dun, and the teenage drinking started. Yeah, I guess I was more awkward than I thought, and being around all of these pageant queens and these seasoned performers, it made me really kind of fall into a pattern of having lower self-esteem. I wasn't very confident in my movement at that time, which looking back on it, and I'm a burlesque dancer now, and I like the things I do on stage, I like dance and strip. Back then I was so worried about looking stupid, that my movement score, it was a color code back in the day. That's what they would call, they would like grade you at Disney. You'd have to like do an animation test, which like it's like a dance combo, and they like grade you. And it was a color code. I know it's different now, but that's what it was back in my day in 2000 and you know 7. But brick and mortar, it was a color code, and mine was like the lowest color it could be because I just wasn't very confident, and I kind of let being a Disney princess shake my confidence. I was always a confident kid, so I don't know. That job just like kind of wrecked me. Casting was super toxic too, and that could be a whole episode in itself. So we can get into that and mental health and Disney in another episode. I would love to chat with you guys about all that. But moving back to the topic of just entertainment, a lot of drinking happened to bond with coworkers, to, hang out with the super cool Norwegian kids. We had an international program where like people from different countries would come work at Disney, and I was doing character breakfast and lunch and stuff at Norway as Aurora, and all of the college kids from Norway were just the coolest. And what do? They drink. So, man, I ended up partying with them at 17, and I was like drinking underage at like a Bennigan's, like throwing up in the bathroom, like getting so fucked up, like at a fucking Bennigan's, and they didn't card there. And man, we were just bad. Like that. We just got so crazy. And I was 17, 18, 19. I only was a Disney princess for 3 or 4 years. I have to like look back on my timeline. I think I stopped at 2009. So it wasn't that long, but it definitely increased my drinking habits. And I would always hear, like, I was a teenager when I started. I was 17 years old, and I would hear the older girls who were more seasoned performers that would get more opportunities talk about their weekends, and they were all getting effed up. I mean, they were in their early 20s, like, I'm not judging now, but like, I just figured, oh, this is adult behavior. Adults get fucked up. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. So, that really started an unhealthy relationship with alcohol for me. And it became something that I wanted to do when I was stressed. People would say, oh, I had a bad day at work. Let's get some wine. And that's when that habit kind of was created for me, was Disney. Moving on and moving forward, I kind of kept that habit. I wasn't in entertainment anymore. Disney kind of messed up my mental health. Like, and when I say kind of, I mean like majorly. And I did some modeling, and trigger warning, I did have an eating disorder that I struggled with. And the modeling, I would like drink, and, you know, the binge and purge and bulimia cycle really, really got to me and took a toll on me. And, between Disney messing up my self esteem and then just how hard it is to be an actor, that's what I wanted to do then. I did not do burlesque or anything like that. I wanted to act. So, like, getting rejected from auditions and like just how hard that life is, in modeling as well, and me being a shorter model with like a bigger butt, and like people would say to me that they wish that I was thinner, or like, that I need to look anorexic, and that they would contour my chest so my bones would stick out. And I was just really getting to an unhealthy spot. So I stepped away from entertainment for a little while, and it was really sad, and I just wanted to heal, my relationship with food. And I did somewhat heal my relationship with food at that time, but my relationship with alcohol was ridiculous. I worked at Whole Foods, and like we were just like partying, and like I was 21 at that point, so I was buying a lot of alcohol because I worked in a grocery store, and it was a lot. I partied a lot. I got myself into a lot of situations that I definitely wouldn't have gotten myself into sober. We can get into that in another episode, but like just circling back to entertainment, I took a break from entertainment, is what I'm getting at. I moved back to Orlando. I lived in LA for a little while. I did some casual like cosplay stuff, but I wouldn't really call it entertainment. I was lightly involved with the cosplay community there. My drinking was horrible in Los Angeles. Horrible. It was the worst. It was so bad. But I moved back to Florida, and I started doing entertainment again. And this was about 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. I didn't write down my timeline, guys, so my years might be a little off, but 7 years ago, I believe I moved back to Orlando, Florida, and I started working at Universal doing Mardi Gras. And my relationship with alcohol was already terrible from LA. So I carried that with me to Orlando and I started doing Mardi Gras. And the big thing that everyone would do is go to this like taco place after the parade and get messed up. There was a lot of drinking that would happen after the parade. Drinking was, to me, a big way to bond with the cast, and it got really like messy. I drank a lot, and it wasn't great, and it didn't make long lasting friendships. So if you're thinking like, oh, I want to drink with my peers so I can bond, I didn't create long lasting friendships. If anything, I made a total ass of myself. And there was a lot of, not just with after work, but like socially, there were a lot of parties that would happen with these friend groups. And I just was so out of control with my drinking. And there was a lot of drinking at these parties. I couldn't control my alcohol intake. And it was just kind of embarrassing because a lot of the bonding did involve alcohol, and sobriety wasn't really like a thing. I didn't hear of a lot of people in these groups that are sober. Maybe now that I'm sober, I would find sober people in these entertainment pockets. But again, since I was in active addiction, that was not something I was seeking out at that time. I was really in the thick of it. I was using alcohol as a coping mechanism because I was going through a lot of life changes and I just was kind of a hot mess express, guys. But my point, I'm telling you guys my personal experiences, but my point is alcohol was a big factor, and to bond, alcohol was like a big thing. Like there's a lot of parties with Universal Entertainment and alcohol is a big part of it, and to be sober in that community is different. And you got to be strong and you got to be tough. I am not really in that social circle anymore. I know some people who work at the theme parks and entertainment, and they are absolutely delightful, and I would love to see them. And I run into them from time to time, and they're great. And I'm not saying that everyone that's in Universal Orlando has a drinking problem. Don't get that twisted. I'm just saying that a lot of the activities that I was around involved heavy drinking. I guess it's the same as any workplace. Bonding with coworkers with alcohol is like the big thing. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone wants to bond with their coworkers with a drink. Oh, we had a bad day. Let's get a drink. Oh, we had a bad day. Let's get some beers. Let's get some wine, whatever. It's not going to fix your bad day. It's not going to make long lasting connections. If anything, it's going to give you drunk stories with your coworkers. You might get embarrassed. You're going to have to see them again. It's going to be awkward. It's going to not be something great. And that's from my personal experiences. Like, I definitely drank too much at many a social event where alcohol was the main activity and drinking was the main activity and getting fucked up was the goal. I definitely made a lot of mistakes there. And there weren't a lot of activities with the cast that didn't involve alcohol. So that was hard for me as someone with a drinking problem to be a part of because it just kind of made everything worse. Now moving on to burlesque and rock and roll, we'll wrap up the theme park section of my personal stories, and I'm gonna circle back to theme parks at the end of this. So I got a couple more things I want to say, but let's talk about burlesque. So burlesque, a lot of people drink before a performance for burlesque. It's very normalized. Like I've heard about kittens like getting drinks from the bar for performers. I used to drink a White Claw before my performances or a glass of champagne and whatnot. When I first started in burlesque, I would only have one. That was in our contract that we could only have two drinks, I believe, with the troupe I started with. And so I would only have one and then I would have one after. And it was just a way for me to loosen up, I thought. I have a whole episode about liquid courage. Please listen to that if you want more information on that topic because I could go on and on and on about it. Alcohol does not make you a good performer or do you need it to feel loose? If anything, it makes you sloppy. So, you know, those are my short feelings on that. Go listen to the episode if you want the deets. But my experience with burlesque and drinking is, you do work at a lot of clubs, you work at a lot of bars, and you're surrounded by alcohol. So you really just have to be tough with that because, there's opportunities to hang out and mingle after the show. And, you are going to have alcohol around. So just being mindful of your surroundings and knowing if you have to leave early, and not hang out after your show, that's okay. You have to have boundaries. You have to do what's right for you. Maybe the place you're at has mocktails and you're comfortable with mocktails or zero proof beers. Maybe, you could get a Heineken Zero and hang out if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, do your show. Say thank you to everybody, your cast, your producers, etc., and then leave. That's what I do a lot of times. I leave. I don't hang out at bars after my shows. I didn't experience a lot of temptation with alcohol and burlesque because my producer, when I started, or Fable from Midnight Fables, she had in her contract, like, hey, like, you're going to get booted out if you get messed up on my stage. You're representing my company. And so I knew, like, hey, you got to check yourself. And I was able to monitor my drinking because I knew that if I didn't, I would get kicked out. So I was able to handle myself. And I'm proud of that because I never got fucked up for a live show. Now let's talk about digital shows. Bad Witch Burlesque, my troupe. When we started, it was the pandemic, and to film digital performances, I would drink champagne before. And there were a couple times where I would drink champagne and I would be so drunk that we would have to shoot my act the next day. And I just wanted to recreate like that rush that you get when you're on a live stage, because filming in my living room, filming burlesque in my living room with like no audience was just so weird. So yeah, I would definitely get drunk trying to do burlesque performances in quarantine in my living room, and it just made everything messy and sloppy, and I would have to like edit things and refilm, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. With rock and roll, man, we could do a whole episode about drinking and rock and roll. I would love to do that if you guys want a full rock and roll episode. With burlesque, again, like, all I can say is there's temptation everywhere and you really have to be strong because you are working in a lot of bars. I leave after my show. If it is at a bar, I don't stay. I leave because I just don't like being around bars very long. I don't go to a lot of shows at bars. I just really, like, it makes me uncomfortable. I do my job. I hug, I chit chat in the dressing room. I express my gratitude. I live my best life on that stage, and then I leave after. So that's really all I can say about burlesque. Like, it's everywhere. Be mindful. If you drink before your performances, please be mindful, and please listen to that Liquid Courage episode because I think it's important, because you don't need alcohol to be great. With rock and roll, I was sober when I joined Sid Stratton as a performer. I can just say that temptation is everywhere in the rock and roll industry. With networking events, I was just talking to Sid, and he said, you went to a convention, and a lot of the networking events were bars, 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 and more bars. So, let's get a drink, let's get a drink, let's get a drink. And, you just have to be really firm with your boundary. Uh, you hear about alcohol addiction and addiction in general in the rock and roll industry and in the entertainment industry a lot. And it's because it is just everywhere. It's everywhere, especially in rock. Like, that rock and roll image of like chugging beers and, girls and drinks and the party. It's there for a reason, like that rock and roll rock star life. And it's just trouble. If you love music and you love doing what you do, you don't need alcohol to do it. You don't need alcohol to interact with fans, and alcohol doesn't make anxiety better. If anything, it makes it worse. Like literally, it makes it worse. So you might feel like a euphoria for a small amount of time, but then it kind of crashes down and it does make you feel worse. People offer free drinks a lot, especially with bands. I know we did a show and it was like, oh, the band's gonna have as much to drink as you want. We already have a hard time with our limits, right? So why that's gonna just create a really bad situation. So alcohol is everywhere, and you just have to be really strong when you choose this life of sobriety. You have to realize that like there's going to be temptation absolutely everywhere. And that's not just with entertainment, that's with corporate jobs too. There's drinks at work meetings, there's lots of drinks at conferences, there's drinks at like any kind of industry event. You just have to be really, really, really tough. I mean, hell, there's drinks at family parties. There's drinks at family parties. So, like, it's everywhere. Temptation is everywhere. Every drugstore, every gas station, every grocery store, every party is going to have alcohol. And it's the sad reality of it being just so popular. It's just such a commercialized way to relax, and entertainment's so hard on your mind, it's so hard on your body, it's such a job where you have to be on, and when you have that rush of being on stage or doing a parade or doing a big performance, you get depressed sometimes when it's over, no matter what kind of entertainment it is, and you look for something to numb that depression. And a lot of people reach for alcohol, and it's just dangerous. So, us entertainers have to be really strong and really mindful and remember that alcohol isn't going to give us the feeling of like being on stage. It's not going to take away any of our pre show anxieties. It's not going to bring us joy, and it's not going to make us better. It's not going to make us better performers. For everyone in burlesque that's listening, I do have some burlesque specific things I wanted to say. Sorry, I got louder. I moved the microphone. You don't need champagne to be glamorous. You don't need champagne to be a showgirl. You do not need alcohol to be glamorous. You don't. You're glamorous without it. And I know there's this iconic, image of a showgirl in a champagne or a martini glass, just dousing themselves with alcohol. And it's like so sexy and glamorous, but you can be the sparkling grape juice of it all, baby. Like, you don't have to be covered in champagne. Juice will do. You're glamorous even with your apple juice. And that's just the truth. You don't have to be a rock star and go back to your hotel and get fucked up. You can have a great time and be present for your next show the next day. Like, if you're touring, shit, you're going to feel like fucking shit for your next gig, and then you're not showing up for yourself, you're not showing up for your audience. And it's just going to make things harder for you. And if you're struggling with alcohol addiction and you're listening to this and you're in entertainment, god damn, you make your life so much harder when you have a hangover the next day and you're performing and you need electrolytes, especially, hey, theme park friends and workers, theme park entertainers, I'm looking at you. You need electrolytes. Princess party performers, anybody in the big fur suits, you're sweating out alcohol now. Like, gosh, these theme parks get so hot, and you just sweat and you sweat and you sweat doing these parades and wearing these big costumes, and you're sweating out alcohol, and you're hungover, and you're gonna, you know, have a heat stroke or just pass out. It's not good. It's not good. These rock festivals too outside, like, you don't want to be sweating out vodka performing and singing in 100-degree weather. Like, you're gonna feel like shit. So we have to do the right thing for our bodies. And if you're listening to the show right now, I know that you know that it's not the right path to keep treating our bodies like shit. We love our bodies, right? We want to do the right thing. We want to treat them right. And so we don't need alcohol to get on stage. We don't need alcohol to bond with people. Find your group. If you're with entertainers that are like, you got to get fucked up, like you're a loser, you're not going to drink, find new friends. Oh my God, find a different pocket of people. If you feel like you don't want to drink and people are bullying you to drink, then they're not good people to be around. That's not your circle. I do want to wrap up this episode and just say that if you are listening to this and you're in the entertainment industry, I feel like it's so hard. It's so hard to stay sober. It's so hard to get sober. I had to reach a breaking point where I was just the worst version of me to finally get sober. And I had a really hard time like doing that, you know? My friend circles changed. I really like had to look within and stay strong. I've spent a lot more time at home and just kind of changed the way that I do things. As far as burlesque goes, it did not um, change my circle or anything like that. I feel like I've always had a really good head on my shoulder with burlesque. I, with live performances anyway, with digital, I was definitely drinking while I was producing digital shows. And had to like edit out some drunken mistakes. Thank God for editing. But with live stuff, you know, I'm really thankful. And I feel like I have a really good head on my shoulders with burlesque. And I've just grown so much with the industry. There's a lot of wonderful people who are sober in burlesque. And I feel like I have a really good sisterhood there. And I am thankful to be a part of art that lets me be me. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm sober, I do burlesque, I'm nervous about it, I might be speaking from a place of just being totally like biased and lucky, but I have had a wonderful experience in the burlesque industry sober. I will say there is temptation everywhere, but for me, as soon as people know I'm sober, they have never offered me a drink. So I feel like it's a very respectful industry and I work with really respectful producers. So I'm thankful for that. And I am thankful for my time that I've spent. And I look forward to more years in this industry growing and blossoming. And as far as rock and roll goes, God, I've definitely been offered alcohol at rock and roll gigs, but you gotta just fucking be a hard ass and keep good head on your shoulders, stay strong with your boundaries. And if you need to take a break and walk out of that venue, take a little break, come back for your set. That's okay. If you need to go hang out in your car for a little bit and just like center yourself and remember your goals and why you're sober, that's okay too. I feel like this episode was a little all over the place, a little ADHD, a little bit of topic here, topic there, topic here, topic there. But I hope that it was really real for you guys. No matter what industry you're in, just stay strong, stay true to yourself, and remember temptation is going to be everywhere. It's even in the corporate world. So take care of your body. We only have one. We're using it so intensely as performers. And you don't need alcohol to be great. Alcohol weighs you down, waters you down, and makes you not as great of a performer, in my opinion. So you've got this. I believe in you, and you have a place in this industry no matter what pocket of entertainment you're in. Thank you guys so much for listening. I am going to wrap this episode up. I feel like I might do a part 2 of this and do I talked about I talked about Disney, I talked about Universal, I talked about burlesque, and I talked about rock and roll. So I might do another one and talk about rock and roll specifically, and then another Disney one, because I want to tell you guys how much they fucked with my head and my self-esteem, because that really played a part in my mental health, and that played a part in me drinking. So you guys need to know about it. So stay tuned for that. If you guys want me to do another episode about burlesque, I might bring a guest on. So stay tuned for that as well. I freaking love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on this sober journey with me. And thank you for just sharing your time with me. I love you guys so much. And no matter what industry you're in, entertainment or not, stay strong. You guys got this. You're super badass and I love you. All right. Bye, guys. See you next week. Mwah.